everybody, and welcome back to Out of Body. My name is Sabrina. So today's video is on a little bit different topic, but it's something that I wanted to bring on this channel and talk about because I thought it was interesting. And that is, do ghosts wear clothing? And if they do, why? I actually saw this question asked on a Facebook group that I was recently introduced to called Afterlife Topics in Metaphysics. I would definitely check out that group if you're interested in those kind of topics. I'll link it down below. There's also a YouTube channel associated with it, where there's a gentleman named Cyrus Kirkpatrick, I believe, and he kind of does videos like I do. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, you might check him out. But yeah, someone in that Facebook group asked that question. I thought that is really interesting. I wonder if I should do a video on my thoughts on that. So before I go into like my thoughts specifically on that question, I'm just gonna go through the different types of spirits and ghosts and entities, and then go through the different ways that they can manifest or show themselves to people. And then I'll kind of go into the whys and the hows and everything like that about this question. So when people use the term ghost, they use it kind of as a general term for any kind of spirit or entity, but I just want to clarify that there are many different kinds of spirits that can manifest in our reality. There are earthbound spirits who have died and stay earthbound for whatever reason, whether it's unfinished business, or they're just not sure how to cross over, or they don't know that they're dead. There's also spirits who have crossed over, like our loved ones, who cross over and come back to visit us from time to time. They can manifest. There are entities that have not lived on Earth, but they still come to Earth to help us, like angels or spirit guides. Conversely, there are also entities that are not of light and love, are more negative. Some people call these demons. They can come and manifest in our reality as well. And the last two I want to mention are shadow people and residual energy. Now, shadow people could be one of the other categories. They could be loved ones who have crossed over. They could be earthbound spirits. They could be demons, angels. Nobody really knows for sure what shadow people are, but I wanted to mention them as one of the categories. And then residual energy isn't necessarily an entity or a spirit in itself, but I wanted to mention it because a lot of people don't talk about that. So residual energy is basically like a spiritual footprint that can be left in a space, either from something traumatic that happened to someone, or even something good that happened, and maybe it's just there was a lot of energy at that moment, and then there's just like this footprint that's left there, and it's not actually the spirit of the person themselves. It's just a part of their energy that was left behind, if that makes sense. So that's what residual energy is, and that a lot of times can manifest as an apparition. So ghosts and entities can appear in many different forms. Sometimes they can appear like an orb or kind of a ball of light that flickers. Sometimes it's more of a mist or a shadow, like a cloud of smoke or something. Sometimes it's like a full body apparition or a partial body apparition, like maybe just a hand or a disembodied head or something like that. And sometimes people have even supposedly seen a ghost that looked embodied, like looked like you and me. So as far as how or why they appear the way that they do, there's a few factors that enter into that, so I'm just going to go through those real quick. So the first one being how they see themselves, or the memory that they have of who they are. So for example, someone who dies and remains earthbound and maybe doesn't really remember much about their life or who they are except how they died. Maybe all they remember is their death. A lot of times those types of spirits will be seen in the way that they were in death. So in other words, they'll have like whatever wounds, maybe if they were stabbed, they might have stab wounds. They may be wearing the clothing that they were wearing when they died, or appear to look that way. So basically, however they see themselves or whatever they know about themselves is kind of what they'll give off with their energy. So a lot of times that's what people will see. Now the second factor is how they want to be seen. So for example, if it's a spirit who has crossed over and like a loved one who's crossed over and comes back to visit you. So if a spirit or entity has this ability or knows that they can do this, they can actually manipulate what you see when you see them. So they can actually control how they look or how they appear to you when you do see them. So that's another factor that goes into it. Now, most earthbound spirits don't really know how to do that. It's not that they can't, but they just don't know. They just kind of appear how they see themselves. But spirits who have crossed over and come back, or those entities that have not lived on Earth and just, manifest themselves here, a lot of times they're very intelligent and they know how to manipulate what you see. Now, the third factor that a lot of people don't talk about is you. So you have a lot to do with what you're going to see if you do come in contact with a ghost. Because for me, I feel like a big factor in why some people see an apparition, why some people see an orb, why some people don't see anything, has to do with how open they are to the paranormal. If you're very open to it, if you've opened your third eye, or if you're just naturally very open to the other side, or just kind of tugged in that direction, then you can tend to see more things like that. Whereas someone who has what's called a spiritual ego that goes up, a spiritual ego is something that we kind of develop from childhood, from being told that certain things aren't real, that imaginary friends aren't real, and that ghosts aren't real, or just kind of being socially conditioned to think that anything that is not physical matter is not real. That kind of develops that spiritual ego. So it's kind of a wall that goes up as you grow up, and when you become an adult, you've got that wall up. And so most people don't see ghosts or don't experience things like that because of that spiritual wall. Now, young children haven't developed that yet, so a lot of times young kids will be able to see things that we can't see. Same with animals. A lot of times they can detect and see things that we can't see because they've never been told, oh, that's not real. And they don't question what they see. They just see it and know that it's real. So those are the three main factors that I feel like really contribute to what someone might see or detect with the naked eye as far as coming in contact with a spirit. Now, it doesn't have to be just one of those three. It could be a combination. It could be a combination of what that spirit wants you to see and how open you are. It could be a combination of what they're projecting as far as how they see themselves. And it could also be how open or closed you are to the paranormal. It could be a combination of some of those. So it's not like cookie cutter one or the other. I feel like each situation is different. Each person is different. That's why I feel like the third factor is one of the biggest ones that enters into what you'll see, because a lot of times I feel like that explains why when someone comes in contact with a ghost or spirit and there's someone else there with them, a lot of times one person will see something like an apparition or a mist or something, and then the other person won't see anything. And that kind of explains that, because, well, the one person is probably more open to it and the other one's not. Or it could be that that particular spirit only wants that one person to see them. It could be that too. So there's a lot of things that enter into it. I feel like there's not like a definite definition in every situation as to why you see what you see. So going back to the title of this video, do ghosts wear clothes? This question was asked because most of the time when you hear about somebody seeing a ghost, they, typically you hear about, oh, they saw this apparition of a person, like a lady in a long dress, or a man in, a 1800s suit or something like that. They usually describe what they're wearing. So it poses the question, do ghosts actually wear clothes? So my short answer to that is no, they don't. But the reason why you may see an apparition that appears that they're wearing clothing is that, the factors I talked about earlier, if that's how they see themselves or that's how they want to be seen, then they can be seen however, appearing to be wearing clothes. But I think the myth is the thinking that they actually are wearing something, like putting on something every day, and that's not the case. They just appear how they see themselves or how they want you to see them. They may think of their favorite outfit that they wore when they were alive, and then they'll appear to be wearing that. So no, there's no like shopping malls or places that ghosts go to buy clothes and wear them. You know, that's something that somebody mentioned too. Now, with that being said, I'm not saying that there's not anything like that anywhere outside of Earth. I mean, I'm sure there's infinite realms out there. I'm sure if someone wanted to, you know, with their thought, think up or create, you know, a shopping mall for people to put on, you know, clothes. I'm sure that does exist somewhere in the spirit realms. But as far as earthbound spirits and ghosts and, you know, entities that manifest themselves here, I feel like that's kind of a myth. You know, they just appear the way they want you to see them or the way they are, as far as their memory of who they are. If they're wearing clothes, that's how they want to be seen. It's not that they're actually dressing themselves, if that makes sense. The other thing that someone asked in this Facebook group was, well, what if when I die, what if am I stuck looking the way I did when I died? So like if I'm, you know, with what I'm wearing. So somebody was like, you know, well, I hope I die with clothes on, you know, I hope I don't die in my underwear or with nothing on or something like that. And it's like, no, you won't be stuck with that. Like I said, unless you die and you have no recollection of who you were and all you remember is your death, and you might appear the way you did in death, but most likely you'll have something on. Yeah, so it's not like inevitable that when you die, you know, you're gonna haunt eternity forever in whatever you were wearing when you died. Like, that's not the case. You do have control over that. Even, you know, if you die and you don't realize that, you can control how you look, how you want to look. You don't even have to look like a human, you know, you can look however you want. So to kind of tie this together at the end, I just want to go into a couple of personal experiences I've had as to why I feel the way I do about all of this. I've done a lot of research on the topic as well in the past, but I've also had personal experiences with the paranormal and my out-of-body experiences where I've looked down at my body to see what I look like. So I want to kind of bring that to the table too, just as some more added information. So I've actually only seen a ghost one time, and it was a full body apparition. And when he appeared to me, he was wearing clothing. He had a kind of a 1940s era war jacket. It was some kind of military jacket on, and pants, of course. He basically appeared how he looked when he died. I found that out later because I actually did kind of like a medium session with him later on and found out more about him. That he came to me and just wanted to cross over. He needed help. And not only was he wearing clothing, but he actually had, his face actually had some remnants of his death. Because I found out later, he kind of died in sort of a fire. And so some of his skin was just kind of morphed and melted away a little bit when I saw him. So that explained that. So he basically appeared to me as far as all he knew. I found out later he really couldn't remember much except for his death. And so that's why he appeared the way he did to me. Now, as far as out-of-body experiences, there's been a few experiences I've had where I become self-aware. I look down at myself and I actually do see kind of a feminine shape, a feminine body, and I have like long hair and everything. The reason for that, I felt like, is because I did become self-aware and I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about the way I looked, or maybe worried about the way I looked. I know there was one instance where I was kind of worried. I was like, am I wearing clothes? Like, I actually thought about that when I was out of body, and I was like, what do I look like? And I looked down and I had a dress, and, you know, because I was thinking about it, because I wasn't intending that I wanted to be wearing clothes, then I was. Now, on the contrary to that, a couple of other experiences I had where I wasn't worried about what I was wearing or what I looked like, and I just happened to look down, my body, my astral body, was actually just a generic humanoid kind of shape. I don't know what I just did there, but a humanoid kind of shape, almost like, you know, like a crime scene where they draw the chalk and make a human shape. That's what it looks like. It's kind of like highlighted, and then there's like translucent light on the inside. So I've seen that on 2 occasions. The first occasion, I think it was more of an orange kind of light, and the second time it was more yellow. But yeah, so that's why I feel like when you are out of your body, or when you are, if you've died, that you can control the way you appear, the way you look. Now, I don't know if it differs as far as what you see and what other people see. It probably does. You may look down and see yourself a certain way, but then somebody else looks at your spirit and sees something completely different. That could be the case. But anyway, that is the end of my video. I hope this all kind of made sense. I feel like it was kind of everywhere. I had to quit halfway through and take care of some things, but anyway, if you guys have questions, or if you want to comment down below what you guys think about this topic, what do you think about the whole, how ghosts appear to you and why, and if they really wear clothes and all of that. I would love to hear your guys' opinions and any questions you have. And yeah, definitely check out Afterlife Topics in Metaphysics, the YouTube channel. I will link it down below, as well as the Facebook group. And yeah, I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.